Alrighty, welcome back everybody to the Hard Forking channel, the home of crypto culture. This regular show with Baloo the Bear is all about the markets, trading, the charts. So throw us your questions. We will get to them in due course. Baloo, as I just mentioned to you offline, I haven't actually done any trading this week. So I'm a little bit out of the loop, so I'm going to hand it over to you to bring us all up to speed with what has been going on and what might go on in the coming week.
Sure. Yeah, so, not a ton has changed. Let me just get my screen going here. So not a lot has changed since last week. Bitcoin is still on this extension. We've broken out past resistance. There's still a possibility. Now, I do think that a lot of YouTube is calling for a retracement back down to this level for a test. It's starting to feel like a little bit of a crowded trade. So I'm going to go ahead and say that it might just break out and continue to the upside. But, it still is a possibility. So for those who are trading Bitcoin, just wait for the break of the consolidation. So if we're here on the daily, let's go down to a smaller time frame. We can actually just capture the trading range here. A lot of people kind of, especially when you're new to trading, you get kind of lost in like bullish or bearish consolidation. I tend to avoid that. It's just we are in a consolidation until we start to break out. We had a breakout above, went back down to the bottom. So we're getting into overbought of the channel and oversold of the channel. We haven't made a true commitment one way or the other. Nice little bit of demand. Keep in mind, this is the hourly chart. So, take it with a grain of salt. But it's just in a consolidation. So I would not be surprised if we fail to get back inside the range. Then the likelihood of coming down for that test that everybody is talking about increases. But I also wouldn't be surprised to see us stay inside and maybe consolidate to the upside for a breakout, leaving behind a lot of the people that are waiting for those dips. So not a ton of clarity one way or the other. Bitcoin is showing a lot of strength, showing a lot of bullish follow through. We'll see if that continues. Most of the market isn't necessarily interested in Bitcoin as a trade. They're more so wondering how to expose themselves to altcoins. So I can address that as well. There's two charts in particular that I'm keeping a very close eye on. The first is Bitcoin dominance. That's not Bitcoin dominance. This is Bitcoin dominance. And we're stalling here at a not a critical, but, a support / resistance area that I've drawn here. If we break above it, then, alts will continue to bleed out. Alts will continue to be stagnant at best. And if we do begin to reverse here and trend to the downside, then we're going to see some bullishness inside of the altcoins. Now, this whole area right here is a consolidation. So we have not broken out of the trading range of this entire area yet. So it's not altcoin season. Altcoin season is when we start to break down below 40. So if we start heading down, break down below 40, we're going to be in altcoin season. That should be correlated with a move inside of total market cap. Let's take a look at total here. So this is actually total 3. So total 3 is the total market cap, excluding Bitcoin and excluding Ethereum, which basically leaves everything else that everybody in the market wants to trade these days. So until we can get a break above $886 billion worth of market cap, again, we're just trading sideways. We haven't had a breakout yet. We're getting close to resolution to the upside or the downside, but there's no clear direction established just yet. Everything is just coiling. The price action is getting tighter. We are showing hints towards a breakout, but until we break out, I need to react as a result of a breakout, not try and front run any bullish bias or any bullish ideas until we get those confirmations. So, for the most part, sitting on the sidelines, waiting for these breaks because the profitability starts when the breakouts start.
Lou, obviously, most people have heard all of these end of year predictions for 100K plus for Bitcoin. Is this just sort of sentiment based on what we've seen in previous cycles with those last months of the year sort of been parabolic events in 217's case, or is the chart suggesting something that would make those predictions valid? Obviously, many of the viewers are familiar with Plan B's stock to flow model, which shows that figure of 100K plus end of year. But what are your comments on those sort of predictions?
Yeah, so if we do break out, if we do have a continuation to the bull side, I'm just going to pull up the BLX here and zoom out a bit, go to the 3-day. I don't know what, I used to have a channel on here. Seems to be gone. So I'm just going to draw the channel right here in real time. I'm going to go to the line chart, which I actually don't know if I can do because share screen is blocking it. Okay, I'm not going to do the line chart. That's fine. Oops, I don't know what that is. There we go. So I'll draw this in real time here. So end of year, let's go draw a horizontal at end of year. There we are. So, if we're at the bottom of this channel and we do continue bullish, then there's definitely a possibility that we revisit the top of the channel where we were before the shakeout. So that would bring us to a price of approximately, at least on this chart, without adjusting the lines too much, $160,000. I would probably be a little bit more conservative in that. I can actually do a Fibonacci extension on this, going from here to the all-time high, back down to the low retracement, and probably target the 618 extension or the 0.5 extension. So anywhere just over 100 to just over $150,000 is in the cards as a possibility. Anything beyond that kind of overreaches and kind of breaks a lot of models and structures, and there will be a lot of people looking to take profits. I think a lot of supply would enter the market in those conditions. But so yeah, there's 100K is very possible in my opinion. It's really not far-fetched when we're talking about a $55,000 Bitcoin right now. A doubling at the end of a cycle is actually modest. If we do follow previous cycle structure and previous mania phases and blow off tops, yeah, I think it's definitely possible.
Speaking of mania phases, I mean, obviously we're seeing some crazy action especially in the NFT space.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just one big old long list of things that are, Cyberkongs, I think it's called. If you've got one of those, a Cyberkong Genesis, you're making $250,000 off the daily banana you get from that at the moment. It's just, where do you think sort of market sentiment is? Do you think an implosion in a particular sector of the market will bring a correction about? And if so, which sector? Obviously, I think it would be NFTs. Thoughts on that?
I think that nothing has changed. This time is different is one of the more expensive words that you could ever tell yourself. So I think market wide, we are going to have a bear market. People can argue with me on that sentiment. I'm just telling you how I feel and based on structure and price analysis and price cycles and the Wyckoff method. We're going to have a correction. It will probably be triggered by NFTs because eventually they do become too expensive and people just aren't willing to buy. Now, the name of the game in NFTs right now has a lot to do with the mints. So people are minting, they mark up, they rotate, they go to the next project, they mint again, they mark up, they rotate. So there's going to be a dilution of the overall market overall. But the thing to keep in mind is that market is very fragile because it really requires buyers. So if at any point, it might even be Bitcoin that triggers the illiquidity of the NFT market. If at any point those markets become illiquid, you're going to see huge and very steep markdowns in prices. And that would, I would speculate, have a ripple effect across the whole market, the whole crypto market. No one is safe in my opinion, but I'm a bear.
Yeah, the other issue I see with a lot of the NFTs, especially sort of the art-based ones, if you will, as opposed to sort of an in-game token in the gaming space that has utility. Obviously we've still got the regulations to come. What's the security? What's not? I think that potentially will affect that space quite badly. But what concerns me about a lot of those NFTs is, as you've just described, it's really a case of sort of kicking the can down the road. If those new buyers aren't there, the creators are effectively just inventing new value out of thin air. It's kicked down the road to the next person, so on and so on. So when that ends, it's going to end badly, as opposed to the tokenomics. A lot of the games that I've been studying. To me, there is real utility there, so I don't see that they would be deemed securities when we have to eventually go through that rigmarole with the regulators. But also, as I say, there is actual utility. You are purchasing that token to use it in the game. So be careful out there, people. If you've got any questions about what I've just said there, I know understanding the difference between a utility token and a security token is probably quite new to a lot of you. Next week, we're going to be telling you about the security token of hard forking, which effectively is equity in the company, entirely different to a tradable utility token. But that's something for the community next week that we'll be telling you about. So how's my beloved Ethereum chart looking, Baloo? Do you have it up the top there? Or I don't think we looked at it last week.
Ethereum, structurally, it's lagging. Now, Ethereum has a lot of problems, and retail kind of owns the last leg of the bull market. So because retail isn't putting up with the Ethereum gas fees, there's a lot of just low demand. People aren't buying Ethereum because they have no use to buy Ethereum. They think that it's too high in value, and they have no reason to participate on any of its dApps because every transaction, if you're on a smart contract, costs like $50. So the intrinsic demand of Ethereum is really lacking. It's not breaking out. It's lacking in structure against Bitcoin. I do think that it's fundamentally a sound project, and we're kind of getting hints as to what this infrastructure will look like in the future with projects like Solana that just work so well with low transaction fees and quick, but it's not the product that we have today. Retail is not touching it. There's too many other options for them to play with other decentralized applications on other platforms. So any of the buying is going to have to come from the institutional side, and the institutions aren't buying yet. So it'll probably have to come from
that's a funny. I mean, what are you basing that on? What sort of data or metrics are you where you're saying institutions aren't buying Ethereum?
Price.
How do people figure this out?
Price.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's not moving. Anybody who is in is already in. So when the next wave comes in, the institutions at this point, because the price isn't going up, they would be accumulating probably OTC, not stacking up the order books. And if we do have permission given from Bitcoin and a rally inside of altcoins, the sophistication of the users as we reach the top will decrease, okay? Because right now, everybody who's in the space, you may just be buying the coins on an exchange and holding and waiting for price appreciation, but there's a good amount of people in the market who are actually using the applications, staking, receiving APY, playing games, flipping NFTs, whatever the case may be. We have people using the dApps. When we get into the mania phase, it's going to be people, like grandma next door and Uncle Joe down the street, and like all these people who just are like, well, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm just going to buy something, and they're just going to go to an exchange and fill the order books on the buy side. So when that type of investor comes in, we'll likely see appreciation in not only Bitcoin, but Ethereum and a lot of the other high market cap coins. But the players, the participants in the market right now are relatively crypto savvy. So we're seeing markup in these other projects that do offer similar applications for low fees and high throughput.
Yeah, I mean, you've raised some really fantastic points there. I think compared to the early years that I was in the space, everything was based on speculation. Now, where the hard forking community is moved very firmly in the play to earn direction, and these are all people that are actually using blockchain technology, which is fantastic. But what I've trying to sort of sprinkle and slowly help people understand is, these different sort of trade-offs that you have with blockchains. So a lot of what people are using for play to earn games, I would almost describe as, these purpose-built blockchains are effectively just sort of quite intricate or quite expensive accountancy systems, basically. When we have Ethereum scaling and not these ridiculous fees, I do question how many other layer ones will be necessary and would survive against Ethereum should it be successful. That's still a should.
Yep.
So, interesting times.
I think it will be. And I honestly think that with ETH 2.0 and different scaling solutions, if we do figure out ZK rollups, right now we have a lot of optimism layer twos like Arbitrum and Optimism, Immutable X. So we're seeing the true layer two infrastructure being built on Ethereum. The side chains are going to probably exist. They're certainly going to exist because they're going to be purpose built for their own applications, like the Ronin sidechain. We'll probably see some other ones and probably more be created. But as the layer two develops on Ethereum, it's really going to be the user experience, I think, is going to be like Solana, where it's quick, fast, but we have the added benefit of more security, more decentralization. And when you add the throughput and user experience of Solana with the decentralization of Ethereum, it's going to be pretty hard to be an Ethereum killer in those types of situations.
Couldn't agree with you more. That's my big passion and my mantra to everybody. Decentralization is so goddamn important. What do we mean by that? We mean that a handful of people aren't running things and making the decisions for you. A truly decentralized world is one that I just think will be an amazing place to be living in. So, there are arguments out there about exactly how decentralized Ethereum is. It's certainly more decentralized than anything else out there except for Bitcoin, in my opinion. So there you go. Okay, back to the charts. We'll take some questions from you people. If you want to start typing those in, and we'll have a look very shortly. Warm welcome to you all. I see you've got a chart for sushi there, Baloo. Still super bullish on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a fundamental play. So I think that sushi is... the market is undervaluing sushi, but the thing to realize and the thing to keep in mind with a claim like that, when you hear a YouTuber say, I think this is undervalued, the market is the ultimate, truth. The market is the ultimate truth. So we're not seeing the market participants showing up to buy this undervalued asset. I think that sushi has a lot to offer. And when you compare sushi to its main competitor, Uniswap, it's a no-brainer in comparison to not only the sophistication of the products, the security measures in place, how active and useful the DAO is being run, the products that are anticipated to be launched on it. It doesn't really matter if the market participants aren't coming up to fill the order books and mark the price up. It is something that I'm closely monitoring because I do think that there is plenty of drivers of demand for the sushi token over, say, a Uniswap. But, the market participants got to show up and they got to buy. Speaking of market participants got to show up and got to buy, one that they are buying is Shiba Inu. So we can take a look at Shiba Inu.
God, what is going on there? And can you tell us what Shiba Inu is?
Shiba Inu is some garbage nonsense project that's basically just a fork of, Uniswap, and it's got a DEX. It does its thing. But hey, it's not up to me to decide what is appropriate for the market to buy. We have serious volume coming in on Shiba Inu. Whatever is going on, whether it's meme culture, whatever the case may be, bias in the amount of coins that you can buy. What is that? A unit bias. There's an incredibly advantageous unit bias for new investors. They don't want to buy a fraction of a Bitcoin. They want to buy millions of Shiba Inu. So it's got that going for it. But it's being offered in a lot of spots. Like you name the exchange, it's being offered now. There's a ton of volume coming in, and we do have a little bit of a bullish pennant that is forming after a very large move to the upside. So from a technical standpoint, I don't fundamentally support this, but if you can get a break above this downward sloping line of resistance, there is a high probability that it continues to the upside. So, people are buying what they're buying, and what they are buying is not what I agree with. It is not the vision for the future. But, if people want to buy sneakers, pictures of pop cans, raccoons, rocks, invisible rocks, it's entirely up to those market participants to make those decisions.
Very true. Okay, so there's a potential trade there on Shiba, but not a huge fan of the project, I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. I think I'll just stay away from that one altogether. Yes. Okay, very good. Very good. Any other charts that you think are of note?
So, like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm really it's the point at the market where you need to do research. You need to figure out how you're going to form your portfolio. And you don't necessarily need to build your portfolio now, but you do need to make some decisions on how diversified you want to be, what you're going to choose in terms of assets across, a spectrum of offerings. I'm looking at Solana, and I'm looking at Ethereum for smart contract platforms. I'm looking at SushiSwap as a DEX. Like, you need to pick some of these market leaders in every one of their sectors, and then just pay attention to Bitcoin dominance and pay attention to the total market cap. Because once we get a breakout in market cap correlated with a drop in Bitcoin dominance, we're really going to start getting the momentum we're going to get that momentum to build. We're going to get those bullish setups playing out. We're going to get that follow through, and that's going to be the real time to invest. So, it's pick a chart, pick an asset, have your reasons why you're building your portfolio, but watch those two charts, because those are going to be the key to your success. There's really not much else that you need to be looking at this point, other than Bitcoin as well, because Bitcoin kind of rules the show. So what it does is how the market responds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, once again, raised a couple of great points there. Compared to my early years in the space, as I say, it was purely speculation. Nobody really understood what the hell was going on. The big difference now, we're using these different products, these different services, these different blockchains. So this technical analysis, and we're going to make some sort of introductory videos for you all. For the play to earn community watching, if you're not a trader, you want to be pretty careful about when you start trading. It was 2 years of thinking I was a good trader to realize I wasn't. I'm a lot better now, but take your time and combine the charting with your fundamental understanding of a project. And the best way to understand the fundamentals is to use it. We were very early to Axie. It really impressed us, and basing an investment decision on that was made it pretty straightforward. And I think there's going to be lots of other opportunities very, very similar to that. On that note, any sort of projects that you are in there and actually using that do impress you?
No, not really. I'm not really using a ton. I'm looking at different offerings, specifically in DeFi. DeFi continues to develop and continue to fill the voids of traditional finance. The lending markets are becoming really mature. Sushi's lending market, Kashi, which it doesn't have a token, which is great. You don't need a governance token for everything. Is allowing you to create a lending market for any pair you wish. That's kind of unique. There's some interesting projects like Alchemy, which allows you to take out a loan that you collateralize your time. So it's basically you hand over assets like DAI or Ethereum, and you can receive an yield on those, typical to any sort of lending platform, but they lock in the time as, they will front you that yield as the loan. So let's say,
right,
it's a margin play. You get your yield up front. You're allowed to go and buy other assets on margin. If you screw it up, you screw up your trade, and you can't pay it back with the actual DAI that you borrowed. You can just allow the contract to play out in time, and then your coins will become unlocked, and you can receive your coins back. And
that's interesting. What was that called? Alchemy.
Alchemy.fi or Alchemy Finance, Alchemics. Also kind of in an accumulation area right here. You can buy that on FTX. Yeah, it's just an alternative to Maker. Whereas Maker, you do have to pay back what you borrow to Maker. This, you do have to pay it back. But if you screw it up, there's no liquidations attached to this style of margin. You just would be giving time on them being able to borrow your assets to receive a yield on your behalf. Yeah.
Yeah, we've discussed it privately a number of times, but I think we're both quite impressed with the tokenomics, the way that Maker does work. My big concern in the market at the moment is it's twofold actually, but primarily Tether and how stable that stable coin actually is. Interestingly, today we've had. Let me just make sure I'm going to give you the right name here. In fact, I'll bring up the article, probably easiest. Bear with me. If it wants to open. I think it does. Coinbase is down. Okay, I'll wing it. Yeah, so basically their lead article today is about the global financial watchdog. The reason I wanted the article is I forget the name of it, but effectively they're saying that they don't consider the stable coin anything more than quite niche at the moment, given the global trade volumes in it. But obviously we've got Tether playing a pretty big role in the crypto space. We've got USDC. Which, I think there's a lot more trust in that stable coin now. I've certainly started to use it over Tether. So in fact, it's popped into the top 10 now. I think it's about 9th in turnover in quite a short space of time. But any thoughts on the stable coins? Obviously, I've come on to this because we were talking about Maker and DAI. Do you have any concerns about these stable coins? Obviously, a lot of the lending platforms work with them. Thoughts on how pros and cons and where we're at stablecoin wise?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, if there is kind of an unraveling with Tether, how that's played out. Will there be some sort of, court case where they're told to have a time period where they can dissolve, or will they just receive some sort of black swan event and crash? There's a risk to stablecoins right now. There's a theory with algorithmically based stablecoins that we don't need these physically backed coins. But that's all just theoretical at this point. It's funny that the biggest threat to crypto is yet again human interference and negligence from, these institutional players. And we do have the potential to just get rid of this. Code is law. We have the ability to peg assets to whatever we wanted. The technology behind DAI can peg its value to literally anything we want it to, and nobody controls it except the users. I think stablecoins come with some risk. The space overall is really, really in its infancy in its development. We're not ready to take on traditional finance full force. There's a lot of systemic issues to the cryptocurrency space as a whole. And you should be cautious of the possibilities that come along with being somebody who holds Tether. I don't hold Tether. It's not because I'm against holding Tether. It's just because the platform I trade on, I have a USD option. I choose that option. And when I'm in DeFi, I use DAI because I trust DAI more. It's over collateralized.
Baloo, this also just for the audience to sort of further understand decentralization. This definitely comes back to this conversation. Okay, Ethereum has problems now, but Tether is obviously something very centralized. So is USDC. These assets need to be backed one to one. In Tether's case, it appears like they have effectively lent billions to other crypto companies, and that effectively is on their balance sheet as the collateral for Tether. So should those companies fail, that could be a real problem. So a deep correction in a bear market we could see things wobble or make life really bad for Tether. Also, if it coincides with, a light being shone strongly on them, and I think that is coming. It always surprises me because they have had that light shone on them many times, and they always survive.
Yeah, we got to get rid of them. Decentralize everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I probably didn't explain that very well, but when we were talking about these sort of centralized blockchains, which make your gaming experience a hell of a lot better at the moment. They're much cheaper to use. They're quicker, but I sort of lump that into a sort of a Tether DAI comparison. DAI is completely decentralized, as you say. It runs on code, doesn't require human intervention. The founders have effectively dissolved that foundation now at MakerDAO. Spoke to them a few months ago. So that to me is super decentralized. So I'd encourage everyone to try and understand that. If you've got any questions about what we're talking about there, feel free to get in touch with me. I'll attempt to explain it a bit better.
But I'll also add one more thing for those that don't know. The bank, the federal, not the Federal Reserve, but these large banks, they're typically collateralized. They hold 10% of a reserve treasury for the amount of activity that they're loaning out. A casino needs to only hold 20% of the chips on the table. Tether seems to be under collateralized with its offering. USDC seems to be collateralized somewhat close to 1-to-1. But when you use a product like Maker, it's actually 1.5-to-1. It's collateralized 150% to 1. So it's just better. It's just better. It's still untested. It needs to go through the ringer a few times to really see how stable it is. But the theory is there. The code is there. The mechanics are there. And the value in does not exceed value out. So there's, you're paying for that security. You're paying for that stability to own a stable coin. It's an interesting protocol.
Absolutely. Okay, we're going to wrap it up shortly, but I think obviously we've got quite a few of our community here. So do we want to have a quick look at AXS or SLP for them before we finish up?
Yeah, so we can take a look
Only if you've got it up there. I don't think there's been a huge amount of action.
AXS, I haven't been really paying much attention to AXS. It's not really in the zone where I'm looking to be a buyer. The Axie Infinity ecosystem still needs some work. They need to re-incentivize breeding. They've done so a little bit. They've given out some AXS to some of the OGs. Now they have the ability to breed. But SLP is still in a downtrend. We're still minting more than we're burning. So something's got to step in. We got to start absorbing some of the supply of SLP. We've flattened out, which is a good thing. You want to see a flattening, and we can consolidate and choose a side in terms of market direction. But I'm waiting for that DEX. That DEX is going to offer a lot of.
Sorry. Finish up there.
Yeah, the DEX is going to offer an opportunity for people to buy for the purposes of filling these liquidity pools, removing some of the stuff from circulation, soaking up some of that interest, driving demand again, getting people buying Axies, getting people breeding Axies. The missing puzzle piece here is SLP, in my opinion. So we need to kind of bump it up, do something.
Yeah, I mean, Axie is obviously the first big successful play to earn game, but it's a perfect example of quite a centralized project. Obviously, the chart is massively influenced by the guys behind the project playing around with the tokenomics.
Yep.
I think they are obviously a very capable team. They've raised even more money recently. Not sure why you need to raise money when you've made as much as they have, but there you go.
Well,
what about thoughts on, do you think we're going to be in a position to actually purchase Axies with SLP?
Well, through the DEX, I mean, maybe not directly with SLP. That would be interesting, and it's certainly not off the table. But I think realistically is the SLP will just be swapped through the DEX for, low fees. They're talking about I say low fees because I do think when the DEX is released, there will be another coin that processes gas fees. That's probably a good move and a step in the right direction towards a little bit more decentralization. But I would speculate that the RON, the Ronin token, would also be released, and that will be used to process the gas fees. Pure speculation. There's, I would imagine that would be what they would do. So yeah, I do think that the SLP will just be a lot easier to swap. It'll be a lot easier to swap so that, the scholars can take their SLP and they can swap it for wrapped Ethereum and they can buy their own axes. It'll be really, really good for the economy. Because right now, there's a lot of friction, there's a lot of steps. And usually when you're going to go through that many steps, just use it to get your local currency. And then, you're not re-injecting that back into the ecosystem to go and buy axes. So it'll create some demand. It'll be really good overall, and it'll offer a lot of opportunity, I think, for people to take some of their earnings and flip it into a sounder investment so that they can keep 100% of the profits.
Very true. Very true. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time again today, sir. I'll let you get back to your lovely, warm, tropical evening on one of the most beautiful islands in the world. As you can see by the way I'm dressed, it's Arctic here.
I'm sweating. I'm about to break a sweat here. It's getting hot.
I miss that. I miss running around half naked all day and hot, humid climates, hopefully in the very near future. Unfortunately, the country I'm in, you can't really get in or out of it at the moment.
No.
So, very frustrating, to put it mildly.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Okay, mate. Thanks so much for your time. Well,
no worries.
and thank you, most importantly, to the community. Great to see you all here. Hope you are learning something about all the different aspects of crypto. I think Baloo's absolutely the best guy to learn from when it comes to charting, trading. He's got a great knowledge right across the board, technicals and fundamentals. Cheers, fella. We'll see you soon. And